Oh my gosh, you guys, we are back with part 4 of Disventure Camp Hot Takes. I am JPEG, the voice of Kai and Finn. Not in Disventure Camp, not the Finn in Disventure Camp, the Finn in Reality Resort. I don't like to have they have the same name, but sometimes it do be like that. Anyway, we are going to be looking at some hot takes that were left behind about a month ago now. So these are a bit old, but yeah, without further ado, let's jump into it. The first hot take we have is from Inverted LOL. You cannot convince me that there's any difference between Jade and Dan, except for Jade gets to the finale isn't a white male. I like Dan, but the only reason I like him is because he gets booted relatively early. In my opinion, Jade needs to do more besides strategy, but that's a problem with post-merge Carnival of Chaos as a whole. So I think Jade is an interesting character because there are layers. I'm not going to say there aren't any, but a lot of it is bogged down to the immense strategy-heavy gameplay of DC4, which I don't really like. And I think most of the... Okay, I don't want to say most of the audience, but I like to imagine that the audience likes total drama for the character moments. The challenges are something that I've noticed Fresh TV tends to push forward when it's like, look, as goofy and funny and silly as some of the some of the challenges are, that's not why we're watching the show. We're watching the show because of the characters and their dynamics, right? I think Disventure Camp and this whole genre kind of is so intriguing because you have all these super different characters from different walks of life, kind of like Survivor, coming together and interacting, characters that you'd never expect. Now, that being said, a lot of the talk with the last with DC4 and arguably the remake even is that there's just a lot of strategy talk and it's not the most compelling thing for most audiences. I can imagine that the Survivor part of the audience likes it, but that's such a small percentage. And when it comes at the cost of stripping away character moments, that's when your product starts to suffer. And I think Jade is probably one of the biggest examples of that. I'm not saying she's super boring, but I do think that you have a lot of strategy gameplay moments, and that's fun, but when your characters are game bots, that's kind of boring. I find it kind of interesting how Survivor, the last 9 seasons of Survivor, the modern era, a lot of people complain that the characters sound like game bots. They sound like robotic, non-emotional people who are only here for reality TV clout. And from what I've gathered, Disventure Camp is doing the same thing. It's like, why? Why? We like the character moments. Bring more of those. I'm not saying, make every character a dumbass and, there's zero strategy going on, but, like, come on. Anyway, yeah, I think that's fair. I think Jade, for some reason, is a character that doesn't have a whole lot going for her besides strategy. I'm not saying there's none, but it's not as much as I would like in this kind of show. And I think I think you're right with a Dan comparison. It's pretty apt. Obviously, Jade makes it way farther. She's the second placer of the season, but I really wish we got more beyond her strategy talk, right? Of course, there are little moments here and there with, the turtle named Franklin, even kind of weird considering Jade's age. Like, I don't really think Franklin is, like, what, something that would constitute her age. Maybe something like, maybe Phineas and Ferb or Gravity Falls would be more appropriate for her age, but whatever. Franklin, 90 show, whatever. If you watch the podcast, you'll know why that stuff kind of irks me. But, yeah. I don't know. I just find it kind of tragic that Disventure Camp is slowly becoming super strategy heavy when I feel like that's such a small part of the fan base. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't mind the strategy. I just wish it wasn't the full picture. There's so many conversations in that middle part of DC, the forgettable episodes of DC4, where it's just like, oh, we need to make an alliance or else we'll flip the votes or else we'll be on the bottom. Now we gotta, like, you're part of my alliance. You're gonna be in my final too. And it's so annoying. Like, I don't know. I roll my eyes. It's just so... There's no character voice going on there. It's generic. I know there's only so many ways you can have these conversations, and they've already done 4 seasons at this point, but it's like, come on. But thank you for that comment. It's a good comment. Next up from SleepyBoy800. Not a hot take, but I don't like how some people are scared of Gabby. For what? She talks to herself, vegan, and acts like a weirdo? So scary. Okay, to be fair with Gabby, she did threaten to kill Nick, like, in one of the very early episodes, and on top of that, there are moments where her altar, rather, comes into play, and, like, that kind of freaked people out in DC1. So yeah, I don't know, I feel like if you didn't know any better, you would probably be a little scared of that. The DC1 cast, not the most emotional, not the most emotionally intelligent of cast, but yeah, that's probably why. Thank you for the comment, though. Next up, we have BSI Worker. Even though Riya is somewhat of a bad character in All Stars, I think that the remake for Season 2 really helps her character's motivations and actions later clearer. She might be one of my favorite characters on all of Disventure Camp purely because of her progression into a villain in Season 2. One thing I'm excited for and fans of his favorites is Rosa's mentions of Riya, and how Rosa maybe possibly help another character going down the same path as Riya, just a possibility. So, I disagree that Riya is a bad character in All Stars. I'm not going to get into that because that's not really the main comment, and because I'll be here all day. You can watch my, endless podcasts on Disventure Camp All-Stars or my tier lists. But, to that note, I think that Season 2, the original Season 2, there were the seeds of what made Riya tick. But the problem with Season 2 is that, a lot of the dialogue is very recappy, a lot of it was bogged down by reasons that we all wink at because we all know what it is. And a lot of the season just kind of feels disjointed and messy, and by the time there's some control, Riya already has her I was acting Rosa moment, and that's why it was such a big meme back in the day. Like, a lot of you weren't there in early 2023, but Riya really was, well, Riya and Allie were really, really hated back in the day. Watch some of the Silly Billy videos if you want a snapshot in time of what it was like in 2022 and early 2023. But, you're right, I do think that this remake really fleshed out Riya as a character, so much so that I honestly think it makes All-Stars a little better. There's some aspects where I'm like, this wasn't the original timeline, but some of these things enhance the character, and I really do like that. The dynamic with Riya and Connor in the DC2 remake is really tragic because of All-Stars, and I think that adds to, the mystery. I made a whole video on it, Calm Sister Riya, go watch it. It's great. Not a lot of people watch that video, but yeah. On the other hand, Rosa mentioning Riya, I saw, like, this fan art where it was, like, Rosa and Alec both talking about missing Riya, and they were bonding over it. I don't know, because, like, DC 5 Episode 1 doesn't have, like, that... Okay, it's only one episode, but, like, from what I've gathered, there's really not that many direct references. Like, they will name drop some characters, but no super cohesive references. So I don't really know if DC 5 is going to be a season that has a lot of callbacks. All-Stars does, but that's because All-Stars was a celebration of the first two casts. This season, I don't know. I feel like it'll be slightly more lighthearted in the continuity aspect, because, like, DC4 was also, like, shockingly light. And I know that the reason why DC4 barely has any references to the first 3 seasons is because they wanted it to stand on its own, be fresh, and on top of that, the creators said that they didn't like the Revenge of the Island cameo style with the OG cast of Total Drama, so they decided not to do it here. So I don't really know. I feel like it would be cool to have Rosa have an arc that has to do with recovering from Riya, especially because, like, Alec is there, right? But I don't know, man. I don't know. That would be a good idea, but at the moment when continuity feels so light, at least in the episodes, maybe, in the intro videos, yeah, there was some continuity going on there, but at the moment, I'm like, I can't really see it, sorry. It'd be cool, though. I do like that idea, though. Hot take, Logan flipping on Ted was actually the best move in the situation. Let's be honest. 8 question mark says, hot take, Logan flipping on Ted was actually the best move in the situation. Let's be honest, Ted is not beating Anastasia in the tiebreaker because she's a freaking powerhouse. Plus, Anastasia will be mad at Logan for lying to her, and the Alliance should consider him as the next target. So this is really a little complicated for me because this is, very early DC4. I barely remember most of DC4, but it is interesting to me that Ted getting mad at Logan is one of the very few times where a character actually gets mad at Logan, and there are some consequences to his actions. This is like in one of the early episodes, and for the most part, it's brushed aside because Ted's eliminated. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, Logan won, so clearly it wasn't a bad move in the long run. But you did buy Anastasia's capital with it, social capital with that. So I mean, it's not the worst move ever. But yeah, I don't know. But you're right. I do think that he might as well have jumped ship, and, like, Logan is Logan, and no one ever gets mad at him. So I mean, don't really burn a bridge, right? So yeah, that's sweet. Anyway, next comment. This is a bit of a long one, but JKL2655 says, the ideas for Logan were good, but poorly executed, like a player playing emotionally and hurting others by, it seems like good drama, but that was sadly so poorly executed, leaving Logan as a character that faces almost no consequences. People wouldn't be talking so much about Logan if he at least got some consequences. Heck, maybe Zade not forgive him at the moment. It doesn't need to be anything big, just something that Logan's actions brought to himself. So, yeah, I've said this a million times, and I think a lot of people have analyzed this to death, but it really does feel like a trauma response from All-Stars, because All-Stars, a lot of the characters fought, and even though most of them, except for Riya and Yul, overcame those storylines, because that's what a character arc is, people did not like that. And so I guess with Logan, they were like, okay, no fighting, everyone's forgiving, everyone loves each other. I was really hoping that, when Zade got eliminated in 7th place, there would at least be some, consequences where it's like, okay, look, man, what you did, it's not good, I don't forgive you, but whatever, it's the game. right? Or something major like that. I know that sounds petty, but it's a show about conflict. It was inspired by a show called Total Drama, not Total Friendship, to quote Courtney in All Stars, Total Drama All Stars. And yeah, like, I don't know, I really didn't like Zade in the last 2 episodes where he was like, yeah, no, I'm mad, but I'm still voting for you, Anastasia, or whatever it was. And then he was like, we're cool. And it's like, oh my gosh, it just feels unearned. I don't know. I'm not saying Jake needs, oh, I messed up. I'm not saying Logan needs to, give like flowers and chocolates to Zade or whatever, but like, it just feels unearned. It just feels so like, I get it, it's the game, and I like that people are forgiving. More people in real life should be forgiving and kind, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know, it feels disconnected. When a real show does that, when Survivor does that, or Big Brother does that, where characters are forgiving, that's because those are real people, those are real emotions. This is a fictional show. You have to have the narrative bridge the gap between point A to point B, right? You can't just, play fast and loose with that and just be like, oh yeah, no, in the motel they forgave. It's like, yeah, okay, it's an animated show. You have to make it believable. You have to make those connections, right? And so that's right. Logan faces no consequences. I'm not saying he needs to have his legs broken or anything cartoony like that. I'm just saying that if people were like, hey, Logan, you look, man. Look, I respect your game, but I don't think we can be friends. Something like that. Something, that's harsh. And for someone like Logan who wants to be a people pleaser, that would sting. But it's like, yeah, you played a game that was a little messy. You burned people. You didn't need to burn these people in this way. It's a game at the end of the day, but like, there were things you could have done. I don't know, that's my hot take. I don't like it when it's hand-waved with like, oh, but, in an actual show, this would be... Okay, stuff like the jury not being the pre-mergers, that's fine. Okay, that's just the format for these shows. But if it's something that's like, you're treating these characters like real people, but like, doing these things off-screen, it's like, oh yeah, off-screen, Zade forgave Logan. It's like, that's so cheap. That's so cheap. I don't know. The water trauma idea was good too, but that was too poorly executed, felt somewhat rushed. All I'm going to say is that a lot of the conflicts, I said this in the podcast, we all said this in the podcast, Lech Gang, Auric, Dawn, myself, in the finale podcast, but a lot of the characters have rivalries with themselves, inner conflicts, and that's not bad in like a book, because it's like you can have that inner monologue, you can have those inner thoughts. In a comic, you can have the thought bubbles. In like an anime, you can have narration, but here in the show, it's a show specifically about all these combined people collaborating and fighting and betraying each other, right? So when each of them have their own individual storylines, it doesn't feel... It's like, what's the point? What's the point? We're just watching a Hallmark movie now. It's like Logan versus the water. Like, have someone be, the visual representation of the water. Maybe a character is like bullying him about the water fear. Maybe you have a person that represents Logan's past. I don't know. I'm not... I was gonna say I'm not a writer. I am a writer. You're putting me on the spot. But yeah, Trinji felt more like a cute side ship more than a genuine relationship, yeah. Between the two, it was lazy and left the people who ship it with literal crumbs until the finale. It's a cute ship, nothing else, not much screen time, not much development, just throwing some interactions and a kiss at the end, called it a day. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was originally in the plan. I think that the voice actors improv'd it, and that's good. That's not a bad thing at all. But because of that, it feels like sloppy seconds, I guess, where it's just, it feels last minute. I'm not saying it's bad. I love it. I love Trinji. I think that Tristan and Benji are cute together, but at the same time, it just feels like, yeah, this is a last minute edition. You know what I mean? And that's fine, but it's like, it could have been better if it was there from the start, if that was the original vision, or if there was another season with him, of course. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm not saying it's substanceless, but a lot of the substances will be in the future seasons or your fanfics, right? So, not in DC4, sadly. I'm not saying there's zero substance, I'm just saying that it's not a lot. I think Jade isn't exactly boring, but the right word is stale, in my opinion, for better or for worse. Look, tell me what you think. I just talked about Jade earlier in this video, but yeah, I think that Jade just feels like an exposition dump, and I don't want people to get the wrong idea, because I know Silly Billy got, harassed because he said something similar. But when you look at Jade's dialogue, there's depth, but a lot of it is bogged down by the strategy talk, and I don't like that. Moving on, we already talked about Jade. Anarissa was an easy-to-ship IMO, not enough drama inside of it, excluding characters like Linda that brought the drama. I think it needed spice and conflict between the two of them, or maybe it would have been a cooler ship. Yeah, I think a lot of people here, they don't like conflict, they don't like drama, they just want to watch a friendship show, and that's boring. No one, that's what happened. DC4 is the antithesis of that, and that's boring. Just watch any other show. Watch a sitcom, watch Friends, watch Full House, watch, I don't know, How I Met Your Mother. I don't know, I'm not saying they need to fight and like be like, oh, enemies to lovers. I'm not saying that they need to be jealous and toxic or anything like that. It, but that would be fine because couples can get toxic. People fight, people misunderstand. But the bonds that stick together despite all that are living proof that, like, you know, things can withstand it, right? If you can withstand a conflict, that means you'll be stronger than ever. I know a lot of people kind of riff on that. They're like, oh, that's so boring. You know, I don't want to see that. But it's like, I don't know. I feel like it's realistic. And Anarissa just feels easy. It feels like a ship on easy mode. I can't blame them. I've made some tweets about this, but like I can't blame ONC for being scared because of the amount of vitriol they got from Gabby and Ellie. Gabby and Ellie in All Stars, there was like a very minor, you know, caused conflict, and that caused people to lose their minds. And I understand that, like, when you have much less sapphic, you know, lesbian or bisexual, female, woman ships, it can be like kind of jarring when it's like, oh wow, you only have one, you know, woman ship and they're fighting. That's not good, and it's like fair, valid. But you know, that harassment that we got for Gabelli in early All Stars wasn't good. It was very traumatizing, to be honest. And that's why later on in the season, episode 11, 19, and 21, you have 3 moments of Ellie reassuring, no, Gabby, I don't want the money, I'd rather have you. Because the amount of vitriol was so negative. It's like, I don't like how Ellie is characterized, and it's like, yeah, they're playing a game. They're hungry, they're stressed. Like, I don't know what you want. And I sorry that she's not the Little Miss Perfect. Sorry that she has an arc to overcome. So yeah, so that's me on my soapbox. Sorry, I got a little tilted there, but I've been ranting about this. It's in the Voice Under the Covers episode, actually, where they interviewed me. I got a little mad at that. That's still something that bothers me to this day. And I can't deny that had long-lasting effects. Probably. I can't say for certain because I wasn't there. I wasn't working on it, but I wouldn't blame ONC for being nervous about how they're portraying their sapphic couple. They're trying to make it more wholesome and less conflicting, and that's fine from the perspective of representation, but from the sake of, like, entertainment, it's not that great, you know? Like, we're here for drama. We're here for juicy gossip, juicy drama. I don't want it in real life, but I like it in my shows, you know? That's what the whole genre is. You watch any reality show, it is filled with so much drama. Like, come on, we live for this stuff. Anyway, Zade was more wasted than Ted since he had moments cut off and still made merge. I don't know about the cutoff moments, I don't know about that. But yeah, no, Zade made it much farther than Ted, and for the most part, he does not have a lot of character beyond Ivy's boyfriend. Of course, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, they lampshaded it in an episode, and that's really annoying because it's like, they knew it was a problem, and they didn't do anything to fix it, and that's valid. What I will say about Zade, and I've made a few tweets about this, but like, Zade talks about his family a few times, and that is infinitely more interesting than the strategy talk, the constant strategy talk in DZ4. Like, I genuinely think that when Zade talks about his family, it's not a whole lot of times, it's only a handful of times, but it's like, oh dang, Zade is like, feels like a character and not a robot, right? That's great. But yeah, no, I agree. I think Zade is probably one of the more wasted characters of the season. And it sucks, because it's like, I like his design, I like his status in the Vibe Tribe or whatever it's called. I really like him, but it's like, man, doesn't get a lot. Feel bad for the Zade fans. Anyway, next up, or last one, we have Chrissy308. One hot take I have is that Fiore and Ashley's relationship is heavily exaggerated by fans compared to the series. The way it was described before I watched it made it seem like every bad thing that happened to Fiore was somehow a consequence of Ashley's behavior, and then I watched it and most of the interactions were neutral at worst, aside from 3 moments, the fall, the elimination, and Ashley being rightfully pissed with her and Alec cheating. Fiore always ends up hurt by external forces beyond Ashley's control. Outside the show, Ashley's quite fine with her. Like, I'm getting mad, but like, why are we acting like Ashley's a child abuser when she did one bad? Yeah, okay, she landed on her in the plane, and I'm the one that proofread that line. I'm the one that added that line. Oh, I would never wish harm on a child, because I was like, people are gonna like be upset at this. But like, yeah, I think like I've said, like, I swear everything I'm saying here is not new. I feel like I've said pretty much everything about Disventure Camp over the last like 4 years. I have no new things to say, but Fiore is interesting because she is such an artifact of the old, more cartoony total drama roots of Disventure Camp. Because it's like, you have these more real-world-like themes of like depression and mental health and, you know, neglectful parents and all that stuff, and then you have this evil mastermind child who's like 6, who like conflicts with everything. And Miriam, to an extent, is also like that, because she's like, you know, this athletic grandma who can like do everything. And obviously this is the final 2, and honestly that might be why DC1 is regarded as the best season, because it's the most cartoony in the eyes of people who want a more goofy goober cartoony show. That might be why. But anyway, because of that, you have this weird conflict where it's like you're trying to do these real life, you know, stories, and then you have this like little child who's like the mastermind, and it's like that's not realistic, of course. Um, so it's kind of hard to draw the line with Fiore at times, where it's like, how much are we willing to suspend our disbelief, right? How much are we gonna be like, oh, this is just cartoon slapstick stuff, versus like, hey, that's not cool. Like, if we're gonna take the Jake stuff seriously, the Tom stuff seriously, are we also gonna take the fact that like these people are kind of shitting on this little 8-year-old, right? So, I don't know. I do think that on one hand, it's like it's a cartoon, guys. Come on, it's like people are like, no, she's 6. She doesn't know any better. She's only 8 years old. It's like, yeah, a real life 8-year-old, like, you can't really blame them for being naughty. But at the same time, it's like this 8-year-old is very clearly a very smart, cartoony, infant terrible, I believe is the trope, who, you know, like very clearly is malicious and says all this bad stuff. Like, I wouldn't say that about a real 8-year-old child, because real 8-year-old childs aren't, all 8-year-old children aren't like that, right? It's like, where do we draw the line? And, I don't know. For me, it's like, it's just a gag. It's not meant to be taken seriously. But that kind of contradicts the whole show, where it really wants itself to be taken seriously. That makes sense, right? I know a lot of people, not a lot of people, a handful of people say that about Yule, where it's like, oh, Yule, he's someone who represents abusive relationships and bigotry, so it's supposed to be taken seriously. But the problem is that he's funny, so it's kind of like, pick a lane, pick a side. Like, is this guy a comic relief funny dude, or is he like dark and, you know, very uncomfortable topic, right? It's hard, and I get that. And Fiore is really, you know, like a smaller version of it, but it's like, where do we go from here, you know? So, I don't know. I think people saying that like Ashley is like, you know, evil, you know, she's like, oh my gosh, Ashley, you're beefing with a child. Hunter, you're beefing with a child. It's like, yeah, but the child is like very obviously like not a real world child. It's like, it's very obviously like someone who's very smart and is aware that what she's doing is bad. It's like, this is a cartoon. I don't know, because it's like, I'm not gonna like blame anyone for feeling represented or validated by some of the, you know, darker subject matter. I'm not gonna say like, oh, it's just a cartoon, don't take it too seriously. But in this regard, it's like, bruh, come on. This is obviously like a stylistic choice of like the total drama roots. But yeah, anyway, that's all for now. Thank you all for watching this video. I hope this, I hope the series isn't getting stale. I hope you are enjoying Disventure Camp Hot Takes, especially with the new season coming up. Maybe we'll have more to talk about. I do plan on doing a total drama hot takes. Go look in the community tab on the Golden Goose Productions channel and leave your total drama hot takes. Maybe we'll do a reality resort hot take video soon. I don't know. Anyway, we'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.